Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the last session of the seminar. And before we start the session, may I have a quick announcement about your feedback? Our staff do the post-event survey that you can scan on your table. And for the virtual participation, you can click on the link that I think our staff already put in the chat box for you. And you can answer the questionnaire for we can have your feedback to evaluate our seminar. And I think it's time to start our last session, which will be on the topic of micro-credential in Southeast Asia, which is called Quo Vadis. If I translate correctly, where are you going, for the next step from our Thai stakeholders' point of view. And please welcome the Honorable Chair of these sessions, Mr. Philip Masterson, the Head of Program Officer and Senior Program Officer of Southeast Asia Ministers of Education Organization, Regional Center for Higher Education and Development, or as we know, CMEO Right, and our panelists also, from the on-site, which may I invite Dr. Kampon Ruethaivanich, Senior Executive Vice President Human Resource Group, Mitr Group, and Associate Professor Bundit Thipakorn, Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs, King Mongkut University of Technology, Thonburi. And also please welcome our online guest speaker, Dr. Choltis Dhirathiti, Executive Director from AUN Secretariat, and Dr. Kanjana Hongrat, Director of Human Resource Development Policy Center, Office of the Education Council, Ministry of Education. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our moderator and guest speaker. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, and I hope everyone enjoyed their lunch. We have reached the final session of the last 1.5 days. It's gone quickly, it's been wonderful. So we have one last session left, and let's get right to it. As mentioned, this session was titled Quo Vadis, Micro-Credentials in Southeast Asia. I think that's very interesting. I think we know, we've seen, we know it's hot stuff. We know it's on the up and up, and we're gonna see more of it. I think another question we can ask, just a little reflection, is where are we going? I think we heard from Roger the importance of putting this up at the regional level. I heard just before lunch in the groups the importance of communication, of coordination among stakeholders about the providers, the universities, the employers. So I think with that in mind, I think we have this session today. We've kind of come full circle. We started with a Thai perspective. We got a European perspective. We got to delve deeper into regional perspectives. And now we come back to perspectives from key stakeholders in Thailand. I'd like to begin by inviting Dr. Kampon Ruethaivanich, the Senior Executive Vice President of the Human Resources Group of the Mitr Group, to please share some of your reflections and what you see for recommendations.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much for the organizer inviting me to this program on behalf of Mitr Group. Okay. Basically, to start with micro-credential, this is new terminology for me. When I get invited, to be honest. When I look at the definition and then going through Googling a little bit, and then I kind of realize what we have done at our group in the past, it is a similar kind of learnings that we can compare to the micro-credentials. So if we look at a high level, I really see this kind of learning is going to be a new learning for our workforce at our group. That's the way we see it. Okay. I'm gonna come back to share a little bit why I see that is upcoming trends that gonna respond to our needs from the business perspective. So what we have done in the past, Phillips, we have let's say co-creation program with college, vocational college, university. We co-design the content, and then we send our people to learn, and also do some kind of practice, okay, and then come back and work. We also have program for new students, okay. We co-creation in terms of the contents, as I mentioned earlier, and then they study in the college, and then they come to our factory and do the practice-based kind of learning, okay. And then we take them in, we give them a higher pay than they actually gonna get from the market, okay. Quite a number of programs we have done, okay. Also, we have our own program. If you look at our landscape in my organization, we have manufacturing, we have commercial like marketing and sales, and all supporting function. So look at manufacturing environment, core process in, let's say, production process. We also adopt sort of micro learnings as well. We have modules, okay, in each of the process, okay. We have Sugar Academy, we have Ethanol School, we have Power Academy, we have Mitr Modern Farm Academies that mentioned by our chairman yesterday, okay. That's sort of what we are doing so far, but it's a journey. Now, when I look at our existing workforce, okay, I can give you example why I see the needs that this kind of learning can respond to our needs. For example, we have one division, so-called digital and technology. Let's say we have we have planned to have numbers of employees around, let's say, 70 people. We have digital transformational journey. We have done sort of assessment with our current people versus the needs based on the journey of digital transformation. To be honest, we really see 15% of our people really fit to the journey. That means a lot of learnings and developments that we really want now. How to do it, but so far it's pretty tough for us in terms of developing our existing people. We're gonna send them into the university to take like 2 years program to get a master, and so what, okay? Or so quick solution right now, we just buy from the market. And also we're not able to buy everybody, to be honest. This is one good example. So if we have micro learnings kind of programs that really fit to our requirement, I think that's gonna help a lot, okay? And also, this is what I see as well. I have a couple of guys in IT department. They graduate from the university in the past, let's say 15 years, okay? And they don't fit to the new journey. And they want to change and they want to do more. I think they get stuck. Even myself and team also what we can provide development for them, okay? Another areas like digital marketing, let's say in the digital transformation journey, we have smart factory, we have smart logistics, we have smart marketing. Those kind of journey we need pretty much in terms of new skill, but we don't know where we can send our people to learn. Indeed, there are some, but in order to speed up our people, we really see this kind of, setup gonna help us a lot. I'm gonna start with this information right now and then pass on to others that might have more perspective.
Okay, thank you very much, Kampon. I think it's very understandable what you're facing, and I think we can hear from more perspectives and then come back to these points. Maybe to make it a little bit different, maybe we can jump online, and I could ask Ajahn Choltis Dhirathiti, Executive Director of AUN, to please share his thoughts. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Philip. Good afternoon to everyone from Hanoi. The question here is, where are we going in terms of the micro credentials in the question to me is in ASEAN. The angle I'm coming from is that I'm very concerned. My concern is at the operational level of the quality standardization, which is the work that our team from the AUNQA have been doing for the higher education in ASEAN. It's been done through the system and practices of continuous improvement. And when I listen to our assessors making recommendations to the study programs in the university on the day that they finish their peer assessment, on-site assessment. From time to time, I could hear mentioning the micro credentials feature on the list of the recommendations that our assessors have been recommended to our universities throughout the ASEAN region. We went through everywhere in ASEAN. We have been doing, even this week, as we are speaking now, at least we are doing assessment in one university every week, the whole year. My point is that micro-credentials feature from time to time, but not always. Not always the recommendations that our assessors gave to the study program. And I'm thinking about why it's not feature regularly or more regularly in the recommendations. When coming to think about this, I think that this thing about the credentials or credentialing processes, they involve many things together, and it now is featured little by little, as Dr. Kampon mentioned earlier, because being part of the bigger picture of the world of work, there will be a lot more demands on the skill set required by the employers, which is one of the key stakeholder when AUNQA is doing the quality assessment. Employers always make new demands because the world is changing fast. Sometimes they, for example, when we're doing the assessment in Indonesia, architecture program. They demand that the student should not know only the architectural style of that region in Indonesia. You know, Indonesia got many regions. The employer demands a student to have a full knowledge of every style of architecture in Indonesia. That's one example. Well, when we visited universities in Vietnam, for example, university nowadays, for example, in engineering field, nowadays in some top university in Vietnam, they are for year 3 and year 4. They teach only basic theories and basic skills, and they send students to learn in the factory for 6 months per year when the students are in year 3 or year 4. What is my point? My point is that if and only if we could have a very clear and cohesive kind of policies, maybe from ASEAN, we can systematize this kind of credentialing and make it more popular for our higher education sector in the ASEAN region. But most importantly, again, back to my background as the guy who is looking after the operational level. What I see as in terms of the seriousness that involved in doing so, in making micro learning more popular and systematize the credentials in terms of the nano credentials or micro credentials, or even that we heard earlier, even the industry-led credentials. There are issues involved at the operational level. First, we need instructors' inputs. Every kind of knowledge need a teacher or a coach or a facilitator, whatever you like to call. Depends on the learning approach. And then secondly, what would be the rules and regulations regarding the admission process and how to assess, how to grade, even you want to do it at the micro level. Thirdly, there need to be, especially if you're doing it with the online medium, that's an issue of can we make sure of the commitment to completion of the learners. But these things we also learn from our collaboration with the Korean. If you remember, Korean got a lot of, if I remember correctly, 19 cyber university, and they could secure the commitment from learners, because those learners are people in the company. They need to add up, to stack up their knowledge little by little from time to time. So that's a good example that possibly we might learn from collaboration with the Korean cyber university. And lastly, the accredited credentials. If we are doing it in the higher education sector, who will be the regulators? Thank you very much, Philip. That is my first round.
Okay, thank you so much, Choltis. For everyone's, just to make sure everyone knows, AUN is the ASEAN University Network. So this is a network of universities across the region. I think, thank you very much for raising those points, especially about the commitment and the regulator. Perhaps we come back face to face. And I'd like to ask Dr. Bundit Thipakorn, I believe, because you have many hats that you wear, so I'm assuming that today you're talking from a ministry perspective.
Am I?
Today he has no hat.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, I think where am I going? I know, but where are we going? And you said, if I put my hat on as a representative from ministry, I should say that I see the opportunity. Okay, in the short period of time, the thing that I see, as Dr. Dhirathiti and Dr. Kampon already mentioned, we are in the changing world. It's a continuous changing world. How are we going to educate people? When I said people, it doesn't mean that the student from the high school only. We are talking about the manpower, workforce, which is the whole lot more that we want to upskill or reskill their level. Okay, I think the thing that I heard is that we are afraid that MC, micro-credential, is going to be something like a skill training only. We keep, many of us remind that it got to be education. But on myself, it's got education, but maybe it's not the same as in the past, which we call university. Can we have another part for the tertiary education? If we still that we are, higher education is tertiary education. We have post-secondary, we have university or higher education. Can we have another track? Which is smaller, but we educate one at a time, try to cope with changing, continuous changing. And then at the end, when we do this for the long way, we really end up with having a human capital to make the growth of society, growth of the country, growth of the everything. I mean, so in this case, I'm thinking about continuous learning. We need something smaller, be able to flexible and change all the time, and then support the continuous learning for the whole of the lifetime of the workforce. If this is, I see this opportunity. And then the immediately the opportunity, COVID-19, within the past 2 years, we have a lot of loss in education. We have a loss for the people who lost their job. How can we pick up some people like this? The loss in the education within these 2 years is not just only from grade 12. It can be from the grade back forever. And then our students for the first 2 years, that maybe I'm pretty sure that it's lost. You cannot say that when you do it online and then within the past 2 years, you get 100% of the quality that you have been done before. And these people will graduate in the next 2 years. So we have a lot of things that we need to do immediately. And also the corporate sector, industry, they lost something too. Okay, so this is a thing that I think this is the opportunity that we can do MC. And then I'm pretty sure that MC is going to be a good framework in order to make this happen. But the challenge is, how are we going to do it? Are we going to do exactly the same way that we have done in the past? Like, this is a training. Because when I say training, I really think training is not education or educating people. Okay, sometimes because in my sense, training is more likely to go to to the specific knowledge, specific skill, which is normally is in the past, or it's a problem from the past. But we looking, like Dr. Kampon said, we looking in the future, for the future. Okay, so how can we put the MC and educate people for the skill that haven't really exist at this point, but it's going to happen within the next 5 years? How are we going to do this? I think maybe MC, not maybe, I have no doubt that MC is micro-credential can answer the question, but the big challenges is back to academic faculty member. How can we change their mindset that they have to do this? Their responsibility is not just only K-12 student, it's not only public the paper, try to get up on the rank, doing the research paper, and then I don't think we have to come back and think that the win-win situation, win for education or higher education, is not winning by number, but winning is in the point of that we help some other people, we help our stakeholder win something or get something out of that. That is a win for us. So if we can change this, I think we have a opportunity and challenges that in my view. And then finally, outlook. I think it's, well, I'm pretty sure that MC will help, but MC, we need a lot of connection, and we need the connection in all the perspective. Connection with inside a university themselves, connection between the different level of the education, connection between we and corporate and industry. And when I say connection, it doesn't mean that you send our student go to have a practice or do something like that. It's really connect. Like Dr. Kampon said, well, one company, a group of companies show up and said, within next 5 years, we want to do this technology, or we want to make this. How we can do something together to build our human capital, to be able to make us successful, and then university will win, okay? That is my view. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Bundit. To make sure that we leave enough time for questions and discussion, maybe I move now to Dr. Kanjana Hongrat, Director of Human Resource Development, Policy Center, Office of the Education Council of the Ministry of Education, Thailand. Please, the floor is yours. I think you may be muted. We're not getting any sound.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Now.
Okay, yes, thank you. Yes, good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Office of the Education Council, Ministry of Education, and Thailand ASEAN Qualification Reference Framework Committee focal point. First of all, may I share the knowledge about connection between micro-credentials and Thailand National Qualification Framework. Today, I'm going to present about Thailand National Qualification Framework, which covers both educational qualifications at all levels and occupational standards. The Ministry of Education cooperates with relevant agencies in development of the country manpower in accordance with the industrial sector needs and using the National Qualification Framework, or NQF, as the main mechanism for the development of various systems, including accumulating and transferring learning outcome system, which is relating to the principle of micro-credentials. Next slide, please. The Office of the Education Council, or OEC, is responsible for NQF2 working committee, comprising representatives from education sector, occupational standard agency, and industrial. In line with Thailand context, there are three main agencies responsible for education qualification framework, namely the Office of the Basic Education Commission, the Office of Vocational Education Commission, and the Ministry of Higher Education, Science, Research and Innovation. Furthermore, the Office for National Education Standard and Assessment is an agency responsible for educational quality assurance. And as for the main body responsible for occupational standards, both Thailand Qualification, Thailand Professional Qualification Institute, or TPQI, and Department of Skill Development. Let's now move to Thailand NQF. It has two objectives. Firstly, to reform education for employment by linking educational qualification with levels of occupational standards to ensure the quality of the graduates as required by the labor market. And secondly is to strengthen lifelong learning system through validation of experience, recognition of prior learning, accumulative credit hours, organizing credit bank system by open entry, open exit education system for those out of schooling. There are 8 levels of Thailand NQF learning outcomes. It's divided into 3 domains: knowledge, skill, and application of knowledge, skill, and responsibility. NQF level and learning outcomes at each level are linked among qualification of 5 qualification sub-framework. It covers 3 sub-qualification framework in education and 2 qualification sub-framework from occupational standards, which are professional qualification standard and national skill standard. The next part, I would like to focus on NQF implementation. NQF implementation is monitored and reviewed through NQF National Committee and Subcommittee. Thailand National Committee, chaired by Deputy Prime Minister Dr. Wisanu Kriyangam, comprising representatives from HRD-related agencies, which are responsible for policy and issue in driving NQF. Thailand has mechanism to manage and monitor NQF into practice by the Cabinet-approved NQF revised edition on 2017 and 2 master plans. Firstly, master plan on implementation of the NQF 2019 to 2022. And secondly is action plan on human resource preparation and development in urgently needed areas for country development in line with the NQF. This action plan focused on the 7 areas. As you can see, list of 7 sectors in screen. For policy implementation, from last year until now, OEC had worked with OVEC, TPQI, DSD, and related industrial sectors to develop model of TVET curriculum, competency-based curriculum, according to NQF into 7 areas of study, which has been very successful. As a result, OVEC follows OEC model and extend the curriculum development in additional 33 areas of study. At present, 40 TVET curriculums of OVEC are complied with NQF and TPQI or DSD occupational standards, which are approved by Vocational Education Commission and ready to implement it in this semester. Moreover, Thailand extend this process to short-course training for upskilling, reskilling those who are looking for job, and skill recognition or further education are in the process to ensure opportunities of those out of schooling system in qualification according to NQF. Now I want to go on to connection between micro-credentials and the NQF. From the principle of NQF as a bridge between the professional world and the educational one, including principle of the ASEAN Qualification Reference Framework, or AQRF, as an important mechanism to enhance the capacity of the workforce in AMS, as well as the movement of higher performance manpower in the regions. It indicates that OEC try to improve learner competency by developing courses with professional standards, which the curriculum is considered as the key to the development of learner. Driving NQF work not only focus on teaching and learning course, but also for short course training. In the future, the structure of curriculum will be set for competencies according to the principle of micro-credentials. It focuses on the student learning following to the competency that should have in each occupational attainment. The aim is to provide graduates with competency in line with the industrial needs. So to sum up, higher education-driven micro-credentials related to NQF's principle to enable students to accumulate and transfer learning outcome through a credit bank system. For NQF, the students have a chance to accumulate and transfer both knowledge gained from education, qualification, and experience to a system of testing and certification of prior experience, as known as recognition and accreditation with validation of RPL. Yes, thank you for first round.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Kanjana. Okay, we've heard from the four speakers, and actually this is kind of a unique panel. This is like the triple helix concept that Professor Udom introduced this morning, because we have academia, we have the private sector, we have government together on one panel. I do have some questions myself. I find it really interesting, all this discussion about micro-credentials, but at the same time, I see that it's really, and we began to see this even before COVID, but learning needs to be more transformative. It needs to be more flexible. It needs to be more inclusive. It needs to be more equitable. And I think micro-credentials can come into this in a big way. But without taking any more time, we do have some questions from the platform, but I'd like to give the mic to the floor if we have any questions from the floor.
Philip, can I add on one thing?
Of course.
Okay. Along the way when we are discussing, I also think about MC will help our employees in terms of career rotation, job rotation, and also exchange from this career to another career. We can plan together with university, whoever, and then set up, might be, let's say, maybe 6 or 10 modules, MC. If they can complete, they get certificate, and then those employees are pretty good employees, let's say good performers. We really want to keep them so we can co-design a program, making sure they can make a turn from A to B successfully. That's going to help in that perspective as well. Yeah.
Okay, I see Sebastian.
Hi, Sebastian Gries. Not sure if you've seen me before. I'm the SHARE program manager for this particular event, but also the result area dealing with this sort of topic. I just want to report a bit from our previous breakout sessions and also reflect on what Roger said and the colleagues on a potential ASEAN approach or let's say, definition to micro-credentials that may or may not serve as an inspiration and guidance for the member states to roll out institutions their own policy. I want to put this question to you because we have now a reflection of the sector, right, of all stakeholders. Do you think an ASEAN, let's call it, approach to micro-credentials, or maybe even a guiding definition would be useful in your specific contexts and context?
To answer this one. Now you move it up to ASEAN context, right? Yeah. ASEAN perspective. I think we have something different, and the difference is good for me. When you try to create something new, something that have never happened before. So if MC is something like that, so a different perspective will help a whole lot. So we need to be really work together, not just only in Thailand only. Yeah, during lunchtime, I talking with Darren said, the regional, is it really because of you have a country within the same area, within the same latitude and longitude? How about the regional is something that you do something, try to accomplish something, exactly the same thing, then you form the regional. Okay, so if we really dissolve the word ASEAN to be something else, and looking into the different perspectives, I'm pretty sure Thailand have some good thing, Indonesia and all those countries have some good thing. We pick up the good thing from each and then do it together and try to make a compass of the whole ASEAN. I think it's good, and then so I really looking for the MC that representative ASEAN, not just only our country only.
Ajahn Bundit, I just want to think out loud, that this way might work. For example, Mitr, we have our footprint in China, in Indonesia, in Australia, Vietnam, for example. This is our people. We also want to develop them. Okay. Now in Indonesia, we have more than 1,000 employees over there. I also have I don't see anything right now. If let's say we have a network from here, we might work together with university in Indonesia, and maybe university here could be a partner with university in Indonesia and work with us. We can do something about it. In that, let's say, ASEAN perspective like that, that might work. I don't know.
And for those online, Ajahn Cholathit, Dr. Kanjana, would you have any comments?
Yes, Philip. I'd like to follow up from Dr. Kampon that what he just suggested is actually at the implementation level, we are using that model indeed, but not for micro-credential. We are using it for our university and industry engagement, particularly in the engineering field, that we have a cooperation with the Japanese university. We do exactly what Dr. Kampon just mentioned, that we built up a small cluster of one university in one country in ASEAN, matching up with another university in another ASEAN country, and two of them match up with 2 or 3 universities in Japan, and it doesn't stop there, and match up with the Japanese company operating in Southeast Asia, and doing a collaboration on whatever project they want to do, including student research, postgraduate research, or student internship in the company. And this might also answer Professor Bundit when he he mentioned the question of uh, how can we cope with the future skills that today we might not know exist, but it exists in the future. Uh, possibly the answer is in the practical level, that when this small cluster, they are working on the real problem in the business world. Yes. Thank you.
And Dr.
May I
Kanjana?
have, yes, thank you. Referencing, referring Dr. Bundit, for the policymaker organization that responsible for human resource development by using NQF mechanism. I hope that micro-credential system has to mention as a main strategies for NQF mobilization for every levels of education, especially for TVET and higher education. At present, OEC is in process for developing digital platform in order to develop micro-credential system and credit bank system for education institutions. One of the challenge is educational quality assessment in the future. It is necessary to access quality at the curriculum levels in order to prepare the future qualification as a principle of micro-credentials. And I learned from EU country on yesterday to develop micro-credentials framework. I think it's very close and related with Thailand NQF and also for TQF in higher ed also. So is this a challenge to link it credit bank or micro credentials framework between main body responsible for sub-qualification framework in Thailand, both education, qualification, and also professional framework. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other questions from the floor? Okay, perhaps I will check online on our platform. We do have one question here, and it's concerning more of the cultural aspects, especially in terms of lifelong learning. So when you're looking at small business owners or shop owners that are looking for more education, for more learning, going back to school, going back to institutions to learn, how is Thailand tackling this cultural aspect?
You mean culture regarding the lifelong learning?
The cultural view of the way it's phrased here is the cultural view of adults going back to school.
Adult gonna go to the school again, you mean? Right.
Is that the purpose of the MC? Is that the mission of the MC? That you want to and make all the adults that have an education loss somehow,
right?
And then they go out to work, and then now they will come back. Want to add on education to make their skill better.
I do
that.
see. I would say yes. I see MC will address that challenge for sure. If I don't look at workforce in the business like myself, if I look at the whole, let's say in Thailand, somehow like past 2 years we got COVID, right? So we see opportunity for some business, but also some business get disrupted as well. So those employees, I know some of them might go back to rural area, but I think if we have good programs, they know where they can relearn and learn, then I think that's going to help them to go back to, university again.
I see the opportunity that I think this is the MC is going to come in. MC micro-credential is, as I mentioned earlier, is target all age of learner. It depends on what they need. If we can build the micro-credential that stack and stackable in certain way, we can accommodate more than just one set of the people or specific learner. Okay, and then to me, every time when they're talking about the micro-credential, I said the easy stack can restack themselves. It depends on the learner choose. Okay, if they have this pathway, they can come in at this point, and then they can get off at the point that they really want, and then they come back again. So this is another kind of system that I think is really fit with the micro-credential. It depends on the design and the need. We have to look for the need, and then we have to make our design that can accommodate the diversity of the learner.
Agree.
And yeah.
Agree. We see the benefit, we see the journey, but how we gonna make MC easy to experience, even in the one university and cross university, or cross borders like countries.
Okay, thank you. Are there any additional questions from the floor? Well, I think one of the senses that I get from where we're going, I think it's clear that digital transformation, digital credentialing are going to need to be discussed more. And I know that next week, as Darren has mentioned, actually this is going to figure in the policy dialogue next week, talking about digital transformation. So I hope that we can continue this discussion and move it forward. If there are no more questions, we also have some comments from the platform, and I think we've recognized this, that there can be different types of micro-credentials for different purposes. There are lessons that we can learn from the EU, and I think that's what we've been doing over the past 1.5 days. So with that, and no more questions, I think, well, we've reached almost 3 o'clock on the final session. So with that, can we give a big round of applause to everyone?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So thank you very much, Mr. Philip, and also our distinguished guest speaker for your insightful discussion. Thank you very much.